Alright, I wanted to do an update video on the Denali. So this is the one that we swapped from a 6.2 to a 5.3, and hadn't really gotten to drive it much lately because I had taken insurance off of it so I could drive the quadra-steer. And so I traded the quadra-steer for one of my other trucks back and put insurance back on this thing, and I've been driving it. So just want to give an update on how it does, going from the 6.2 to the 5.3. And to be quite honest, it below half throttle, I mean, you'd never notice, because this truck has a 342 gears in it. It's all-wheel drive, and with the 6L80 has such a steep first gear that it really, it just goes like it normally would. It has such a good starting line ratio that it doesn't take much power to get the thing moving. So again, it's aluminum 5.3. It has an LS3 cam in it. I did have to go in because I didn't like how it was shifting with the 5.3, so I went in yesterday and ran the Blue Cat on it and rescaled all my shift tables so it'd be better. And also, I think it was still trying to lock the converter in fifth. If you're not aware, GM from the factory would lock the converter in these trucks at like second or third gear, something like that. And that's why the 6L80 was problematic with failing in these things, is because you had so much mechanical advantage in the lower gears that when they locked the clutch, it just tore the clutch up too soon. And plus, with the DOD, the lockup on these is not on or off. It's pulse width modulated, so it's pulsing the pressure to it so the individual doesn't feel when it's in DOD locking and unlocking a converter and all that stuff. Well, if you're like me, I want my converter to be locked or unlocked. I don't want it to slip, because I know that slippage over time causes failure. So that's what I did. I went in there to the apply ramp on the torque converter, and I didn't max them out, but I took them from zero or negatives to what I know would hold the converter, and then put the max value in the far right column and interpolated to get it to where it actually has some pressure holding the clutch locked when it's in lockup. And I had done all that with the 6.2, but when I went to the 5.3, what I did is I went back to one of my earlier files, the as found to it, and just converted that to the 5.3 and saved as my new 5.3 file, because you always want to constantly save the files on these, because if it doesn't work how you wanted it or something screwy, you can always go back to the previous write and you're saved. So it's always a good thing to have a backup. And I probably save too much when I write one, but I don't guess it's a bad thing, because if you do screw up or something, you can just go back. But the only problem is when you have so many, trying to determine what you did on that one. But I mean, I know you can go in there and do notes and whatnot on it and put what you did, and there's also the revision log in there where you can see what was changed. So overall, I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. It drives, like I say, it drives fine. A normal person would never notice the change. We were driving in it last night, and I asked my wife if she noticed the difference. Of course she didn't. So I had done, after I did the 5.3, I'd serviced the transmission, put a new filter on the transmission, new fluid, and then the rear, I noticed when I had it up on the lift that the rear shocks were blown out, so I put new shocks on the back. But so far I'm happy with it. I haven't driven it enough to check the mileage on it. I think it's on about a half a tank, so I'll be filling up here soon and calculating the mileage and kind of see where it's at compared to the 6.2 that was in it. So, but speaking of 6.2, here's the Caprice. So today was actually the first day I've driven it since the dyno. Just haven't had time. I drove the kids to school in it, and they were pretty excited about it. So it did fine, and actually all I had was some E85, so I put all the E85 I had left over from the dyno in it, and so it's on. I don't know what the percent content is. I didn't hook up my laptop, but it did well, drove fine, everything. Of course, you know, with the children in the car, we didn't want to get too excited. One thing I did on it since being back was I did a 2-stage boost controller, which I'll show you real quick. So I put a switch right there which turns everything on and off. So you just flip that up, and then you flip that, and then it turns on the second stage. This is one of those 3D printed things that there's some guy on there that does a 3D printed, because if you know the 9C3s, they had the Windows switch right there, and the 9C1s that was on the door. So we got a new pressure switch in over there. Hopefully that will last more than one time. And then here's our dual stage. So what we do is we have a T, so this is our reference line coming in, and then it comes over to this side on the MAC valve. So if you know MAC valves, normally when there's no power to this port is open to this port. So it comes in and bypasses and goes down to the gates. It can't backfeed here because there's a ball and check valve, and this is normally closed without power. When I flip the switch inside, it opens this port and closes this port. So now our reference is going through the boost controller and coming back to here. It can't go back here because that port's closed. So it's restricting the signal to the bottom of the wastegate, which allows it to be in full party mode. So I figured that'd be the best thing to do, would be to rig something out like this instead of having to constantly adjust the screw on here to change the boost control. So now I can just flip a switch and go from my pump gas boost level to my E85 boost level. And so like I say, some of my other buddies, they do that on their stuff, and several people do it. And plus it would help on traction. If you got bad traction issues in first gear, you can take off on low boost, and then just once you feel you've got enough traction, then you can turn on the high boost or use it as a scramble if you're trying to outrun somebody and need that extra over 200 horsepower instant. So, but got the AC charged. The AC's working, blowing cold. I may have to take it back down to Michael and tune it, or get him to tickle the keys on the computer to get the idle just right when the AC comes on. He got it pretty close. I mean, it's probably good enough that I wouldn't worry about it. But he, with everything going on, I had the stuff to charge it. It was vacuuming ready to charge, but like I said, I didn't want to crank it up before I got there until I had his blessing to crank it. So it wasn't charged, so I should have charged it real quick while we were there and then let him tune it, but I didn't think about it, and we were busy trying to get everything else sorted. So so that's that. Let's see what else. I'm trying to find, ordered a set of Brembos for the front off of the Cadillac Brembos that use the Caprice rotor, which the Caprice rotor I think is a 345 millimeter rotor, so you can just take off these have the single piston calipers on them. So with the Brembos, they have a 4-piston, so you can just take that whole bracket and caliper and everything off, and then put the Brembo on and have 4-piston and better stopping power, and maintain it looks like there's plenty of room with this between the wheel and the brake. But that seems to be the most economical way to go. Brembo's on this was just using the Caprice rotor. The other thing is the seats. I found some seats on Marketplace, and I was going to try to meet with him yesterday, but it didn't work out with our time frame, so I think he's available Saturday, so I'm going to try to get some SS seats and put in here just to have a little upgrade over the stock cloth cop seats. And then I know where some G8 back seats are that had the folding center in the back, so I may get those. I don't know, once one earns my trust and loyalty, they get nicer things. But when I'm mad at them, they get neglected and they sit in timeout in here. So that's where this car's been in timeout for a couple of years, and now that it's proved itself, it's getting some love, much needed love. So it drives good. It's a good driving car, like I said. The big thing was the tune. Now that Michael was able to get the tune dialed in, and the cruisability, and the air conditioning. The air conditioning was in this Georgia heat's pretty brutal. This summer's been tough. It's been really hot, so you can't drive crap around here without AC in it. So, but anyway, I just figured I'd update on the 5.3 Denali, and then a couple things I've done on the Capri since the dyno. And I will try to get a driving video of this thing. I know everybody wants to see one. Like I said earlier, this is the first time I've driven this car since it's been back from the dyno, and that's been a week. So I drove it off the trailer, and that was it. So I'll try to get some driving videos of it, and we'll go from there.